JJ,
Dad.
welcome back to Breakdown. Today is June 30th, last day of June. We're going to talk SEC versus the Big Ten. You ready to talk?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. JJ, as I said, it's May
Or June.
or June 30th, the last day of June. Big news came out today.
Yeah.
Mighty big news. The potential for USC and UCLA joining the Big Ten.
I thought you were going to bring out the Kevin Durant trade request. Okay. That is more on brand. USC and UCLA. Let's do it. Let's talk about it.
Big. Is that bigger than the Texas, Oklahoma to SEC?
I think it depends on who you're asking. I think if you're asking the Pac-12, it absolutely is bigger. But if you're asking like the average college sports fan, college football fan, I think Texas and Oklahoma might have a bit more cachet right now.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. You know, it's to me it's kind of weird that the Big Ten has kind of followed the SEC lead when the SEC added Arkansas and South Carolina. The Big Ten added Penn State, and eventually they added Nebraska.
Penn State actually happened before
Okay,
Arkansas,
sorry.
Arkansas or South Carolina.
Because they added the one, and then when the SEC added the 12, the Big Ten followed. And when they added 14, the Big Ten followed. They added
And before all of
16.
that, when SEC was the first conference for a championship game, the Big Ten followed
They waited
that
a
too.
long time. So but this is big, JJ. Picking up the California market. Why do you say the SEC pickup of Texas, Oklahoma may be a little bit bigger?
Well, because Oklahoma, between UCLA, USC, Texas, and Oklahoma, one of those schools has made to a college football playoff before in the recent, in the entire history of the college football playoff. Oklahoma's made it, was it 3 times or 2 times?
I believe 3.
Yeah, Oklahoma is the most relevant of these programs. USC obviously has the tradition. Texas pretends like they have tradition, but you remove Colt McCoy and Vince Young from
Definitely. Vince Young in the Rose Bowl game. I definitely remember that game.
Yeah. So I just think that Oklahoma is one of the. I remember when the U.S. News, the AP, and ESPN reported like the best college football programs of all time. Oklahoma was number 1 or number 2 in the AP, ESPN, and the Sporting News. This is like 10 years ago. Now, since then, Alabama
Correct.
is definitely cemented themselves as a legit number 1, and other schools have had success. Clemson, Ohio State's won the championship since then. But Oklahoma, I think, is the. I think Oklahoma's the big name as it pertains to.
Okay, but JJ, I'm really not talking about performance on the field. I'm talking about eyeballs watching the TV set.
That's good news for Texas because they are incredibly popular, if not accomplished.
So that means that adds to the SEC advantage with those eyeballs?
Yeah, Texas is incredible. Texas has enough attention that they have a network,
Their own network.
Longhorn
Okay.
network.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think that brings the gravity. I mean, they outpace USC, UCLA, and Oklahoma. I mean, maybe on their own. Texas. It might if you just
Wow.
did Texas.
I did not realize that. Now, but you were talking to me earlier when we were just talking. You mentioned the West Coast bias being one reason why the USC UCLA is not as impressive. Tell me, what is the West Coast bias, and why does it reduce the magnitude of this huge potential pickup?
Yeah, so the bias, the East Coast bias, or the East Coast bias in favor of the East Coast, or the West Coast bias against the West Coast is something that Pac-10 or Pac-8 fans have been saying for years and years and years, that the reason that they don't get any attention outside of the occasional Oregon quarterback and USC is because of the time zones that they play in, because of the states that they reside in, where college football and basketball and college athletics in general is just not as big as it is in the Midwest and in the South.
I agree. The time zone is an issue. I mean, especially when it comes to playing football games. Uh, maybe these two teams can play their games a little earlier in the day instead of playing like 7 o'clock games. Out there would be starting at 10 o'clock here. That wouldn't work for me as far as watching it. My eyeballs would not be on that game.
Yeah.
So I accept your bias from that point, and that the Texas, Oklahoma will have more eyeballs because of their time zone.
Yes.
Okay.
They're saying that this could happen as soon as 2024, and the reason that this is happening is obviously because of money. And I can guarantee that whatever network bids the most money, they probably aren't going to have like a USC Michigan marquee matchup, at 11 p.m. like how some of the Pac-12 after dark games have been.
Sure.
I think you'll reserve like some of those like later start times for UCLA versus Northwestern or USC versus Illinois, teams like that. But I think the Ohio States, the Michigan States, the Michigans, the Penn States, I think those will be in prime time for the Midwest, for Central and Eastern Standard Time.
How big a pickup is this for the Big Ten, assuming it happens?
It's huge. It gives them a puncher's chance. It separates themselves from number 3 and number 4. It doesn't necessarily put them in the echelon that SEC is in, but it puts them closer to that. So a couple more acquisitions. There's some other schools out there. Maybe the Big Ten pursues them, and it gives them opportunity to compete with SEC on a regular basis.
Assuming that there are additionals to either the SEC, because this is where I'm going. To me, football has kind of become a two-team super conference, or will become a two-team super conference with the SEC and the Big Ten. That's what it looks like to me. What others? I mean, if these conferences decide to increase in size, what are some schools out there that would be the most valuable?
I think for the Big Ten, or the SEC, Notre Dame would be the most valuable pickup for either school.
Agreed.
But assuming that they remain independent or aligned with the ACC and whatever deal that they have, I think for the SEC, going north is the best option. I would say like a North Carolina, Virginia Tech, and for the Big Ten, I would say going south is the best option. So I would say like a North Carolina and Houston.
Okay.
Just get your imprint into.
Yeah, I always said that the Big Ten should get a footprint in Texas, given the opportunity. And Houston has been a contender basketball, football. But I don't know if the Big Ten had their chance, and they didn't do it. They went west. We'll see how it turned out. Who's hurt the most, JJ? The Pac-12, the Big 12. When there are two major teams left, which conference got hurt the most?
I'm gonna say the Pac-12, just because they're gonna be more out of sight, out of mind. The Big 12, while they don't have like dynasty, they don't have titans in football anymore. They care about football. They have teams in the Midwest and in the South. They have teams in Oklahoma. Oklahoma State is still there. Houston, they care about football there.
Yes, Texas Tech.
Texas Tech. You have
Baylor,
teams that actually care and will put forth their financial resources and pay attention to those schools. So I think the Big 12 is ahead of the Pac-12. I think the Pac-12 is going to be in an identity crisis. I don't really know what outside of Oregon. I don't really know what they're doing in football or basketball, but that's another conversation, I guess.
Yeah, I feel for the Pac-12, but at the same time, the Big 12, they lost their two superstars as well. So that's the road. Is there any ACC school that may be unsafe to stay in the ACC?
Yeah, I mean Virginia Tech, I think, is another school outside of North Carolina. I think North Carolina is the obvious prize outside of Notre Dame for the SEC and for the Big Ten.
Okay.
It would extend the SEC's footprint north. It would extend the Big Ten's footprint south, and it's an academic. It's one of the best public universities out there. It's a blue blood in basketball, and it's a school that has a lot of potential when it comes to football. So, I think that North Carolina is an obvious target. I think Virginia Tech is a target for the SEC.
Okay.
You
didn't mention Clemson.
Yeah, no, Clemson should be a target for the SEC, as well.
Okay.
But and Florida State, obviously.
Okay.
I think Florida State is.
What about Miami?
If you can't get Florida State,
okay. Okay. This is going to be a short video. We don't want to keep a lot, but we're going to come back, JJ, and get into this USC UCLA thing a lot deeper.
Yeah.
But today we're just skimming the surface because it just came out. But I want to talk about one other topic really, really quick before we call it a day.
Yes.
NBA draft just happened. What's your take on it as far as the SEC and the Big Ten?
Well, the SEC was favored to have the number one player in the draft go to Orlando, but that was not an SEC player selected. That was Paolo Banchero from Duke. But SEC represented themselves well. Jabari Smith going third. I think that's to Houston. I think that was a great. I mean, that he was the highest drafted player in Auburn history. A school that had Chuck Person, Charles Barkley, things like that. And then right after him came Keegan Murray and Jaden Ivey, a couple of Big Ten guys.
I know you're big on Ivy.
As a Pistons fan, I could not be happier with that. So I think the Big Ten.
What is it that Ivy bring to his game that you like? For Pistons fan, I'm just curious.
Elite athleticism. He can attack downhill. He can get to the lane. Cade Cunningham is a great player. He's a great ball handler. He's incredibly skilled. But what he did not do is he did not draw fouls. He did not get to the free throw line very consistently. Jaden Ivey is a blur. You will have to foul him. Just him in the open court, him in transition, him getting downhill. I cannot wait to see the Pistons game in person. It's ecstatic. And I like Keegan Murray a lot too. I would have been happy had that been a selection too. But I'm a lot happier that Jaden Ivey's the selections.
Okay, Jay, I'm going to hit home really quickly before I get out of here. I know there's more you want to talk about. I want to talk about the 34th, I might have the numbers wrong, I believe it was the 34th and the 35th pick. That would have been Williams from Arkansas and
Jalen Williams.
Yes, and Michigan State's
Max Christie.
Those two going adjacent to each other. What's your take on those pickups?
I think Oklahoma City picking up Jalen Williams picking up their second Jalen Williams of the night.
That's true. That's true. They got two.
They drafted another Jalen Williams before them. I think that's a great fit for him. I think they have a great developmental program, and they have a G League team that's in the same city. So just the ability to be called up and get actual playing time. I think Jalen Williams went to a really good spot.
Okay.
And Max Christie.
Yes, sir.
Max Christie, I really believe in his defense.
Okay, going to the Lakers.
I really believe in his defense, but it's hard to be an immediate impact defender as a rookie, especially when your previous year you were a freshman. He's kind of wiry. He doesn't have the necessary body for it, but he will have a lot of open opportunities to make threes. And
coming out of high school, what was his forte? Offense or defense?
It was offense. Three.
That's what I'm saying. So maybe he can get that back to a high school type level and become a force offensively.
Yeah, he absolutely can. And you know what happened last time someone from Michigan State went 35th overall. So
tell me, what happened?
Well, he just won the NBA championship for the Warriors. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to deduce what I'm talking about. But.
Was he brown, red, yellow, green? I mean, can you give me a hint?
I think
Draymond, he must have been green. Okay, I got you. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Well, JJ, you got anything before we get out of here?
Guess begrudging congratulations to Ole Miss baseball team.
Yes, they won it.
Yeah.
I called it the SEC Invitational because There were 8 teams in Omaha. Only 2 of them were not SEC or soon to be SEC schools, and those 2 would have been Notre Dame and Stanford. The other 6, 4 of them were current SEC team members, and the other 2 was soon to be Texas, Oklahoma SEC school.
Yeah, it was big for the SEC West. I mean,
That's right. They got 4 from the West.
four from the West, and the other 2 that are gonna come are Western Bowl schools. So
That's true. It's going to be good. SEC dominates baseball. It's so kind of crazy the way they dominate baseball. You don't hear much about it because football is king, football and basketball. But you had shared with me, and I'm going along, an article about, I think it was 6 states that represent the SEC who have won, in the last 20 years, won 26 national titles in football, baseball, and basketball.
yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
That's it, JJ. And next time we come on, we'll be more detailed, have more details for you, and give a more in-depth report.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I got nothing else.
WPS.
I agree.
Woo Pig Suey. Come back next time. We're gonna give you all the news you need to know. Peace out.
Who that?